And it's not too hard to notice a pattern or a single note tune in their greeting of us, right? And so what you're suggesting then is if they say hi, you say hi back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the stuff isn't taught. So here's a couple of simple examples. We run into somebody in the hallway. They say, "Hi, Mike, how are you?" Our return greeting is not "Fine, thanks." It's "Fine, Bob, thanks. How are you?" Right? That's the greeting we're giving them, and we're using their greeting. Look, if we run into somebody walking into a meeting and they say "Morning," our response is not "Morning, Mike, how are you today?" Rather, we just say "Morning." And they think we're a genius, frankly.
Okay, but I know some people got to feel like I do, that if somebody said morning to me and I just said morning back, that would, that sound kind of curt, right? I mean, short. And to me, it wouldn't seem very warm, that's for sure.
Yeah, if you're used to saying, "Hey, how's it going? Good weekend? All going, how are the kids? How's Marie?" Right? Sure.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And we understand that you probably feel a little bit uncomfortable. All that means is that the greeting, morning, isn't our normal greeting. But again, when we go to France, we don't speak French as fluently as we do Portuguese, if we're Portuguese, or from Portugal, or Dutch, or English. And so it's hard for us to use some French words to engage in a dialogue with someone to make it easy for them to help us. So look, keep in mind, a different response than what we're used to giving is harder for us. Yes, okay. But a different response than what they are used to hearing is harder for them. So it seems silly to say, well, I'm just going to use something easy for me, even though it makes it harder for them, when in fact we're trying to be solicitous. We're trying to be graceful. We're trying to be professionally polite to someone. Look, when we ask a question, when they say morning to us, morning, which is a completely acceptable professional greeting everywhere in the world, morning or afternoon. Although, the old saying that, if you go to the Bahamas and you do that, the police officer will look at you and say, "Excuse me." If you just walk up and say, "Can you tell me how to get to here?" They're going to say, "Excuse me?" And you look at them and you ask the question again and they say, "Good morning, sir." And you say, "Good morning." And then they say, "May I help you, sir?" And then you ask. But look, if they've said morning, and then we respond back, "Hey, Bob, morning. How's it going? Good weekend? What's going on? Do you see the game?" Okay. They may well say to themselves, "Why is he asking me anything?" You're thinking, "I don't want to change my behavior. I don't want to be curt to this guy and say morning." And so we use our standing greeting. And the response in his head is, "Why is this guy asking me anything? Do I have to respond to this? How long will this last? I didn't want to have a communication. I don't want to have a conversation. I just wanted to greet him. It seemed appropriate because we were within 3 feet of one another, but that doesn't mean we're going to become best buddies. Will he want me to ask how he's doing? I really don't even care how he's doing right now. I'm totally busy. I know I'm supposed to care, but right now I'm busy. I've got stuff to do. I'm solving problems in my head." And the end result is, sheesh, this people stuff sucks. So yeah, you certainly, you could choose to say whatever you want to say and add 20 words to the morning. And that's what's going through the head of the person that you asked, because rule number 1 is, when in doubt, use your recipient's standard greeting rather than your own standard greeting. They're telling you up front what they want to hear. Say what they want to hear.
So it sounds a little bit to me like you're saying that this is about them and not about me.
Oh,
it's just a little uncomfortable, but okay. So let's, having that as background, let's talk about each of the different profiles and
great idea,
how they might greet us and how we'd greet them if we know what their profile. So let's talk about the high D, the dominant, Patton-esque kind of person.
Yeah. I think, when I think of international, de Gaulle was a high D. Churchill was a high D.
Margaret Thatcher, maybe?
Margaret Thatcher, serious ID. High Ds are dominant, task-focused, get it done, forceful, non-people-oriented people. They know they live in a world of people, and they do want to have effective relationships with others. They believe the way to have great relationships with other people is to do what they're supposed to do, to be professional, to make things happen, to solve problems, to move forward, to make decisions, accept risk, and eliminate risk through action. If they are all these things, they'll be respected and appreciated and promoted, and they will have great relationships with all the people who work for them. And look, high Ds, they know they have to greet us, and usually they do. But they probably don't want to be our best friend at the moment they greet us. At least they don't want to behave like They're our best friend.
And they don't want to know everything about us, right? They
No,
want
frankly,
to
they
know
wanna
us
know-
because
yeah.
we work together, and knowing helps get things done. But it's all about getting things done. They really
Yeah.
don't want to know all our personal details.
Yeah. So generally speaking, they use and then tend to like in response to them or given to them short, flat greetings that get the job done and don't necessarily require a great deal of interaction. That means questions don't generally work as well as statements.
Right. So like perfect greetings for high D is like morning or afternoon or hey.
Hey, or hi. Hi. Yeah, although hi, I actually think hi is becoming less and less. I think that's I think that's becoming younger rather than professional. I could be wrong. I'm not a linguistic demographer. But morning, afternoon, good night, completely appropriate. Now look, folks, think about this. Think carefully about this, particularly you high I's and high S's, you people folks, who we love you, and high D's, we love you too. These greetings are not the same thing as saying, how are you? That is a question. Notice the difference. You could easily say, well, they're both greetings, Mark. And we'd say, yeah, you're right. One is a statement, morning. When you say, how are you? That's a question. Questions beg responses. Questions signal interaction. These are not necessarily positive connotations for many high Ds.
Right. High D doesn't necessarily want to have an interaction with you.
Right.
Right.
And this doesn't mean that they're disrespectful. It means they have a set of behaviors that are different than ours. And this is an example of diversity. It's just behavioral diversity rather than racial or ethnic or gender diversity or age diversity. So what do you say? Morning, afternoon, hey, or welcome back. And that last one has 2 words, and then you're about at the limit of what your greeting can be for a high D. You don't have to smile. You want to raise your eyebrows? That's fine. Sometimes it's even good. A handshake is often welcome from high Ds, but it's generally brief. Ultimately, though, it's fine simply to say the word morning, afternoon. Now, some people, I talked to one guy once who said, I'm a New Yorker. I can say, how are you in one syllable. How are you? Or yo. I said, well, okay. But if you're looking for advice, if you're looking for recommendation of how to change your natural greeting, and if you're wondering what your natural greeting is, just listen to it come into your mouth in the next 4 or 5 days. And you'll discover what it is very quickly. You fall into a trap. We all do. It's not a trap or a rut. It's a deep pattern of behavior. And then you'll know. And then you'll know that it works on some people like you, but not everybody.
Okay, so we talked about high Ds. Let's talk a little bit about high I's, the influencers, the Bill Clintons of the world. How do we greet them?
Right. With a pleased to meet you, Mr. President.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah.
Bill Clinton is a good example. Exceptionally dynamic, brilliant man who just anyone who met him said, wow, I felt like I was the only person in the room when he was talking to me. We find high I's in sales and marketing. They're the fraternity chairs. And as the saying goes, they're damn glad to meet you. They're outgoing, enthusiastic. They smile more than all the rest of us combined. They wear fashionable clothes. They carry the latest handbag. They love people. They like talking to people and sometimes never ever shutting up. They tell stories, great big long stories about their work and their life. They are eager for you to hear all of their stories about them and their friends. They love brainstorming. They love meeting, and they have fantastic networks of others that are eager to help them. They tend to miss deadlines a lot, and they drive Ds crazy. When they greet us, they really want to make a wow impression. They love to hear how our weekend was and how our kids are, and of course, to share those same details with us. And I'm sure everyone who's listening can probably throw a rock and find a high D somewhere or high I somewhere near. When it comes to high I's, they use, and then therefore, because of our first rule, they like casual, friendly, open-ended greetings that are energetic. They want to share, and they want to allow us to do so as well. And that means a series of comments and questions. They ask questions, expect answers, and want us to ask questions of them as well.
So what would you say with a high I? How about something like, hey, how's it going?
Perfect.
And if I smiled and plenty of direct eye contact. Right?
Yeah, as painful as that might be for you, as easy it would be for you to say, Mike, for you to look at him and say morning, and morning being one syllable long, and without even gesturing in their direction, I would suggest that you would be more effective in making a good, really, really early first impression with a high I if you said, how's it going? Or what's up? Or nice to see you. How are things? By the way, high I's, people, folks, they're fine with more words. You'll hear this in high S's too. Hey, what have you been up to? There is a caveat with some of these high I comments, though, that some of these greetings do tend to be more casual, more relaxed, a little bit more breezy, and maybe too much. If you're greeting a high I who's higher up the chain of command, you may need a little bit more of a relationship with somebody higher up the chain of command to get away with some of these. A question certainly to a high I who's higher than you in the chain of command, but perhaps not a longer one, not as long a one as the ones we've mentioned, and not as casual. And really, it boils down to behavior is affected by the rules and principles of power in organizations.
One thing that struck me, we talked a little bit earlier about eye contact and actually smiling, and it occurred to me that the smiling part is going to be difficult for some people.
Yeah, because they don't have the muscles to smile. I mean,
yeah.
Right? I mean, when their kids do something great at a soccer game, they don't smile. When their spouse says, "I love you," they don't smile. When someone tells a great joke, they don't smile because they're physically incapable of it, right? Yeah. That's what I find. That's the reason that people don't smile. No, people don't smile because they don't want to smile, because they think it's uncool or it's not professional. Well, and they're wrong. They're frankly dead set wrong. And if you want to be more effective with some of the populace, you've got to learn to smile more. The effective manager, the effective leader, the effective communicator, the effective listener is someone who modifies their own behaviors to reduce the impact of their negative tendencies, the ones that won't be appreciated by the recipient, and increase the use of things that would be appreciated by the recipient to increase the quality and quantity of the communication you're having. It's as simple as that. And I've had people come up to me afterwards and say, tell me what your profile is, because when you were talking to me, you were smiling and very energetic. When you were talking to him, you had your arms crossed and you were very low key. So, well, that's because of who you are. And they said, oh, I see. I get it. And then they went back to arguing. So, yeah, I mean, look, if you say, how are you? And you don't smile, and it's very monotone and it's very quick, and you're turning away as you say it, it almost wipes out the value you get in changing the words you're going to use in your greeting if you're greeting a high I.
So when we say smile, we mean it. Smile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big. And if you're a high C, we haven't got a high C, but if you're a high C and you don't smile a lot, then smile to the point where you think you look ridiculous, and you're probably smiling enough.
Just scratch the surface. You probably just scratch the surface. Yeah, and look, we respect the fact that everybody brings their own tendencies to the table, and some people, I'm sure there are high C's in the audience, that say some of the high I's smile too much. It's okay to be a high C, as an example, just using this as an example, and not smile. It's not okay to be a high C, to know that other people smile more and tend to hang around with other people who smile more, and then wonder why you don't have a good relationship with them and why you can't seem to get your change initiatives and your project. You can't get your change initiative staffed, and you can't get your projects funded by people who have power, who are high I's. Or you can. Actually, it is okay to complain about it. It's just not cognitively sensible.
Yeah, it doesn't work. So
it doesn't work. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so let's talk about the high S. We talked about D's and I's. Next one on our list is the high S, the steadfast person. Right.
We recommend that you smile and you stay specific and you ask a question. I's and S's get questions. D's and C's get statements. High S's are the warm, personable, caring folks that tend to focus a great deal on how to keep others in a positive state. Team players. They like helping others get along. They listen well. They express concern openly. They love to help others. If you interrupt them, they will stop doing what they're doing and turn and face you and help you. D's, when you interrupt them, are not even aware of your existence. I's say, yeah, let's interrupt each other. It's great. Let's chat. And high C's say, I'll give you 30 seconds. And at 30 seconds, they turn away and get back to work on more important things. But high S's like to help others get along. They love to help, personally and professionally. They're reliable. They tend to be slow to change, much like high C's. D's and I's tend to be fast to change, and frankly, sometimes too fast. When we say that S's and C's are slow to change, people think that's pejorative. It's not. They're slower to change than D's and I's. D's and I's might drive